Time's up. Have your own.
Here it comes.
Chevron 1, encoded.
For my ally is the Force, and the powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow.
You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Cry havoc! And let's set the tongues of war.
Chevron 2 encoded.
Conan, what is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, to hear the lamentation of the women.
It's all in the reflexes.
Paul also said you're heavy into martial arts, Tai Chi and all that killer stuff.
I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
Chevron 3 encoded.
And somebody ought to belt you in the mouth. But I won't. The hell I will.
Chevron 4 encoded.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Chevron 5 encoded.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Chevron 6 encoded.
Knock while you can, monk boy.
Great Scott.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
You shall not pass!
I thought I'd die fighting side by side with Alpha.
What about side by side with a friend?
A day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day.
Chevron 7 is locked.
Hail and howdy, everybody. Welcome back to Saturday Night Drive-In, where the hills are alive with the sound of us discussing movies. I was going to do that different, but I forgot it for half a second, so I had to scramble.
I've been so burned by Dermian Ballbusters. I thought you were going to say something gay right then. That's where my
Did
don't
you
do
hear
it.
his reaction to us last night when we were going to do about this movie?
No,
he hates this movie.
Of course he does.
Because a teacher in school made them learn Do Re Mi by learning that song, and they made him do it over and over again, and that's why he hates this movie.
Okay, that's a personal subjective reason. That's a justifiable one. As long as he can say it's still a good movie. I just have to.
No, he still hates it. He's a heathen.
Adults need to be able to separate subjective from objective, because there are movies like that for me that are associated with negative things from personal experience, and I know you've talked about a couple of them as well. Like, what was it, the Princess Bride? You just watched way too many times,
I've
and now
seen it too many times.
Yeah, like those are fair reasons, as long as we can sit down and say, yes, I have personal reasons why I don't enjoy this film, but it's still a great film. If we ever end up doing The Godfather, that is going to be my perspective on it, because it's objectively a great film from what I've seen. I haven't seen the whole thing through, but I just don't care about mob movies, so it's not my type of film.
That's a preference. I mean, we will have to do The Godfather, but we'll do it. All right, this was mentioned. It was mentioned. I heard somebody mention it yesterday on another stream that they prefer. You've never seen it all the way through, so you haven't seen this There's an Abomination version out there where AMC, about 15, 20 years ago, AMC got it in their head to re-edit The Godfather chronologically. That means starting with the flashbacks in Godfather 2 and working its way forward. It's an abomination, because what you're doing when you do that, you are taking away Francis Ford Coppola's vision with how, because in Godfather 2, you've only seen Godfather 1, right?
Part of 1,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. In Godfather 2, he has the flashbacks lined up with Vito's rise to power, mirroring Michael's current story in the present. And when you cut it up like that, you're butchering it. And last night, when I've had this opinion for years, and also I have the opinion of Godfather 3 is not as bad as everybody says it is. It's actually a very good movie if you understand cinema and the story they're working with there. But when Gary last night on FNT said that that's the best version, I was like, no, that is cinematic barbarism right there. AMC's butchery of The Godfather is cinematic barbarism. You shouldn't. It's not to be watched in chronological order because you understand this. When a director and a writer lines things up for a reason, it's done for a reason.
Talented ones, yes. And back in the day, Francis Ford
Coppola.
was king.
Yeah. I mean, he made one mistake, and he made a few mistakes in Godfather 3. I still think it's an excellent movie, but one of the big mistakes in Godfather 3 was casting his daughter as Michael's daughter. He nepo babied her in there, and she was terrible. Now it was supposed to be Winona Ryder. It would have been so much.
How
better.
old would she have been at the time?
Well, we're talking young Winona Ryder.
Yeah.
We're talking like youthful, super hot Winona Ryder. So, yeah, she was supposed to be Winona Ryder, but then she dropped out of the movie, and Coppola put his daughter in there, Sofia Coppola, who is a middling director later on in life, but she's a horrible actress, and also she's ugly as sin. she's not ugly. She's just not beautiful, and either way, it lowers the movie in points for
Nepotism
me,
is usually a bad thing.
But I still really love Godfather 3. It's got a lot of great moments, and it is it's the end of a tragedy is what it is. It's the end of a Shakespearean tragedy. But anyway, that's another.
What this highlights is that movies were so good back in the day. I've been watching a lot of 60s and 70s television movies the last few weeks because I'm going through Star Trek, the original series again to start my Star Trek venture all the way from there to Picard season 3. And yeah, they just made TV so well back then, and movies like Sound of Music. I know The Godfather was more 70s, right? It came out in 73.
No, 77.
77. Okay.
77,
but still, the 60s and 70s were golden age for Hollywood. I know that's controversial if you ask certain people like Quentin Tarantino, but
to me, it's like we were talking about last week. From 70 to 75, it's a dark place. It's just not
it's
good.
A dark
then suddenly in 76 and 77, when they started making these movies that would come out in 77, 78, suddenly it was an explosion of quality again. Because at the back end, like I said, the back end of 70s, we talked about this last week. At the back end of the 70s, you get Star Wars, you get Godfather, you get Star Trek: The Motion Picture, you get you get a couple other outstanding movies, great movies in there. Suddenly, out of nowhere, you get Patton.
I still need to see that.
You've never seen it.
You talk about it so much, though, that I'm looking forward to it.
Keep it in my back pocket. It's one of my two. After Lion and Winter, it's my other one. It's a perfect movie. I love it so much. And it always. Think about Patton. I know we're gonna get into Sound of Music. Don't worry, but we're talking cinema here. Okay, you understand that? We're talking cinema. When you get with Patton is a movie that is always poignant. Every point it's making is still relevant today. It's good. And George C. Scott, and the music. Patton was a hero, American hero. All right, but we'll talk about the era that Patton takes place in because Patton's a World War II movie. So let's talk about a pre-World War II movie. The Sound of Music, because that's what it is. It's the beginnings of it taking place during Germany's rise to power in Austria by Rodgers and Hammerstein, the two brilliant men who spawned some of the most classic both stage and movie productions of all time with their music and the castings and all this stuff. We're talking glorious set of movies. Eventually, we'll probably go through them all on this show because this is like the best of the best in terms of quality. Now, I have a ranking of what is the best one. This is my number one Rodgers and Hammerstein movie out of all of them. I like this one the best. And then after that, I think I like King and I after that. And the others kind of will move around down there. I mean, I like South Pacific, but I don't really like it. I respect it, but I don't really like it. But it is a good movie and a good story. But Sound of Music, I believe 65. This is what I talk about when you just put mega talent in a movie at their best. And I've said it before. I said it last week when we teased it. Julie Andrews is incomparable. There are very few that can reach her terms in multi-talent. The only thing she doesn't do is dance. That's about the only thing she doesn't do. But you know what? She never tried to. That's the beautiful thing. Julie never tried to, unlike a comparison with Janie Powell, who could dance and sing. I mean, when we do, I know Gal was last night when I mentioned doing this, Gal's like, when are you guys going to do Seven Brides? And I said, we'll get there. We'll get there.
We do have to get there.
We have to. Because that Gal will be our guest for that one. That's already etched in stone. Gal will be joining us when we do Seven Brides or Seven Brothers. But as a comparison, like Janie Powell is the caliber of Julie Andrews and could do the one more thing Julie couldn't, dance. But they're apples and oranges. They're both up there, incomparable. But Julie Andrews, when I talk about a combination of able to do drama, comedy, singing, and just everything, the complete ambiance, the gravitas of it, Julie Andrews is my measuring stick. And that, especially when it comes to singing, she is the best as far as I'm concerned when it comes to vocal performances in a movie, because she never tried to go beyond her range. She knew what it was, and she could also alter her range. I mean, when we do Victor Victoria, she lowers her range because she's pretending to be a man, pretending to be a woman. I love that movie. It's fantastic. But here we are, Sound of Music. This is a younger Julie Andrews. It's during the somewhat beginning part of her career, and she is just in top form here. I mean, here we open the movie. Beautiful landscape, real landscape shots. Jet cinematography in this is gorgeous, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's absolutely beautiful, the setting that they have. And I know that there were shots like this in the era, but this just feels like a technological achievement as much as everything else with those, I'm sure they're helicopter shots coming in at her as she's singing on the hilltops.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful and technologically very well done, shifting into her song. And when I was initially watching that scene, I hadn't seen this movie since I was a kid. So I just remembered that it was great. I didn't remember the details or anything. I needed to be careful and just wait, because you know how I am with movies. I like to overanalyze. I think too much about things. And with that opening scene, it's like, yeah, that's great music, but what is the point of this scene? And I was getting too caught up in that with the Hills Are Alive with the Sound of Music. But as you go through the film, you realize it's a great way to introduce you to her character. Yes, the Hills being alive with the Sound of Music doesn't actually tie into the plot necessarily, but it ties into the character because it flows so well. This idea that she's almost ditzy, maybe that's the wrong word for it, but she's
carefree.
She's very carefree. She's a part of the world more than she's a part of herself. And I love the interaction with her and Mother Superior when she gets back to the Abbey, and seeing this song flows into that very well. I mean, she's unintentionally very funny. I mean, the character is unintentionally funny. I'm sure Julie Andrews did it on purpose. But when she was talking about, you remember how this other nun makes me kiss the floor whenever I do anything bad? I just started kissing the floor to, prepare for it. And if we hadn't had the Sound of Music or the Hills Are Alive with music, we might not have quite understood her carefree nature to the degree that we do. So there was a lot of times in this movie where it's like, oh, that's going to be a problem. What was the point of that? And then it gets paid off later in such a beautiful way. That's why I agree with you. This film is absolute art. I'm not a huge fan of musicals. There's only a couple musicals that I really love, like this one and Happiest Millionaire. But when a musical gets you, it's
about the talent.
The talent definitely helps. But yeah, when a musical does latch on to me, it latch on to me hard. And this one was definitely one of those where I found myself singing along. I haven't heard this music in 10, 15 years. And 16 going on 17 got me. And then all the bad things, singing about the good things in life.
These are a few of my favorite things. Is my favorite song in this movie. That's my favorite.
You never forget it, because if someone had come up to me and say, "Hey, sing some from Sound of Music," I would have had no idea. It's like, all right, what? I don't remember. Zeitgeist. Yeah. But as soon as that music started, it's like, wait, I know this entire song.
Yes.
You never actually forget it. And that's just the product of how great the music is. It is so well made from a composition and a lyrical
Rodgers
standpoint.
and Hammerstein, brilliant. Real quick on your side.
We got Chick74 saying, "I'm late, you guys are gay." Yes, for a 199.
Movie choice. No, it's a glorious movie. It's a glorious movie, Chick. It's a beautiful movie. It's glorious. It's art.
Thank you for the 199.
But it's art. That's the point. Reason I chose this weekend is after last week, I wanted a piece of artwork. My next movie choice is really going to be a good discussion one. I'll tell you what it is when we're done here. But I wanted So Beautiful because I wanted to feel happy. I've been smiling for days since I watched it. I keep humming these songs because they stick to you, and it's the brilliance of Rodgers and Hammerstein. I mean, out of all of their, except for maybe with maybe South Pacific, I'm going to wash that man right out of my hair. These are the songs from Sound of Music.
What?
I'm gonna wash that man right out of my hair. It's from South Pacific.
That sounds so gay.
Well, it's a woman, and she's trying to say that she's not gonna let this guy influence her. It's one of the songs in South Pacific, but it's a famous one. That's a zeitgeist song. But the songs from Sound of Music are interwoven into pop culture zeitgeist for the past now 80 years. Oh no, 40, 20, 60 years. Sorry, 60 years. I could do
decades.
Decades. The safe word, decades. But they have been in the zeitgeist forever. Do, Re, Mi. These are a few of my favorite things. Even though, and this is where I do take slight points off, even though it's Christopher Plummer's song and he really can't sing. Edelweiss. And of course, these are the Hills Are Alive with the Sound of Music. And all these songs, 16 going on 17, all of these songs are part of everybody's memory in some way, shape, or form. And that means something, that it has stood the test of time. And they haven't even dared to remake any of these. I mean, they've remade this one. They've remade stuff like King and I, because King and I is actually Anna and the King. They've remade that several times, but this is, you notice this has never been touched.
Good.
Not to my knowledge.
Don't give Disney any ideas. We're gonna get a Zendaya version of Sound of Music.
Oh, and Patriot Gestalt, you're exactly right. What makes this even better is it's based on the Von Trapp family and their escape from Nazi Austria, and all that. Yes, it is a fantastic true story. That's what makes it even better. I love it that it's a true story. I love history, and this history that Captain Von Trapp said, no, I am not going to be one of these people that's just going to go along with Nazification. I'm not going to, I am an Austrian. I am not German. I am not a Nazi. And Gal accidentally, when retweeting this stuff, actually used the wrong GIF. The moment when he comes home from their honeymoon and finds the swastika flag that they put on his house, and he takes it down and just rips it in half, knowing what that means. That is integrity, and we'll get into that as we go forward, because we'll kind of just. I think the best thing is kind of just to roll through the movie.
We can try, but this film is one of those that we want to connect the dots, because there's such great setup and payoff in this film. But I do want to mention, since we're probably talking about it more, but I am so disappointed in myself as a child, because yes, I did see this movie growing up. It's been a very long time, but I remember watching it as a kid and liking it. Growing up, we'd always turn off the movie after they get married. Because as a kid, it's like, that's the logical conclusion. Why are we watching a new movie about escaping from Austria? This feels like a different movie entirely. Plot's over.
You're a kid.
And now I watch it, and I thought that initially. It's like, it feels like it's coming to an end, but I remember there's all this stuff that comes after. And then that stuff plays out.
Well, you realize, I'm sorry, the subtlety of the rising brown shirt threat. Because there's that one dude, that Politico, who's in there saying, oh, heir so-and-so, I assume you're going to be in charge very soon. He's like, and then he says, yes, I am in charge now. Haha, big smile. I mean, he's
you want to be careful doing that.
Oh, please. Oh, listen, I'm not afraid to do it. I said
I'll
smile.
be the Pedro to your Joaquin.
You're going to reach out and pull my arm down, and then what? I'll do what Joaquin should do and slap you. what are you crazy? Don't touch me. No, but it's very disturbing, and I realize, because you just said this is the brilliant layering of this movie. On the upper layer, it's about a man who lost his wife, and in losing his wife, lost all emotion and color to the world. Everything was black and white to him. And he relied on the efficiency and control that he learned in the military to organize his life and his children. But unfortunately, he cut himself off from all emotion. And his children just wanted his attention, because there's this great line. When Maria gets to know the kids, and I'm not even going to try to remember all their names, even to this day, I'm not going to try to, except for Liesel, the oldest one. I remember Liesel because she's important. She says, "You're all so great. Now that we're getting along, why did you torture all those other nannies that came before me?" Because we wanted daddy's attention.
Yeah, essentially.
And Jed, isn't that just a simple child emotion that the movie gets across like that?
It's so simple, but it's so true. It's a psychology that makes sense. Of course, these kids are acting out because they don't have anything else. Their lives are so rigid that even in military settings, when they're not children being forced into these circumstances, you need to find outlets for your repressed emotions. And when the repressed emotions are seeking fatherly approval and fatherly attention, what else are they going to do? They don't know how to handle these emotions, so they lash out in the most aggressive way possible. It makes a lot of sense. And I don't think a modern writer could in Hollywood could grasp the subtlety of that and its simplicity. And simplicity is one of the hardest things to achieve properly. And these kids, they go on a great arc. I do have a problem with one character's arc in this film that we'll get to, but the children, it's all a logical progression. As soon as they start getting that parental love that they've been needing from Julie Andrews, they start to open up. They start to break down these barriers. They're not as aggressive anymore. That's all they needed was paternal attention. And that shift makes sense to me when they're suddenly great kids after that. Whereas I don't think that same shift makes sense with somebody else. But yeah. I love how simple that explanation is. Yeah, we just wanted our father's approval. What every child wants, what every child dreams of. It's so relevant and something that I think a lot of people can relate to is that view.
And it's it's great that it's that kind of thing where we're just getting into the fact that a man was he was so bereft and depressed about it that he retreated to his training, but it affected his children, but didn't even know it. And then here comes this bright, shining, ditzy, carefree woman who thinks she's on a mission from God. On a mission from God. And she comes in there and brings life and light back to their life.
Would she get to be a nun in the remake?
I don't even want to think about that. Let's not even go there. They should never ever touch this.
The Muslim remake.
Oh, stop it. Shame on you. And first of all, and a lot of times people criticize musicals for purposeless songs. It's like, why are they suddenly breaking into song? And one of the beauty of, in my opinion, Julie Andrews movies, whenever she's tasked to sing, it's somehow cleanly worked into the plot. In this one, the singing, her opening song, it's an introduction to her and Maria. You get the next song after that. We have what is the problem with Maria with the nuns? That's showing us more about her character. And while she's not bad, but it's like they don't know what do we do with her? What do we do with this girl? She's not really meant to be a nun. What do you do with her? And then you get into the life-changing moments where she comes into the Von Trapp family. It's like, okay, she uses song to teach them things. First, it's how do you deal with something with fear? These are a few of my favorite things. Next, how do we make a song? Do, re, mi. And then of course, during the puppet show, that's just lightheartedness for that. But that's then leading into later on with the exit song. And
it does tie into the plot. Like, even with Julie Andrews at the beginning, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to sing, but I just love to sing. But more so with the kids, because it is an emotional outlet for them. It helps them cope with the terrible home life that they have initially, and they have the focus on. I prefer musicals where the music actually has a point, even if it doesn't always integrate into every scene with purpose like that. This one, it's part of the plot. If you take out the musicals, what are the kids doing the whole movie?
Exactly. They're just scenery. Then they're props. But in this one, their songs and music, like a perfect example. When Max arrives, when Georg and the Baroness come back, and they have and Max is with them, and they hear the children choral singing "The Hills Are Alive," And Max is just drawn to it. He's like, oh, here's my next big thing. What is this beautiful sound I'm hearing? And that leads into the Von Trapp family music, the chorus that become the singing family, which is now pivotal to the plot later on. And it's all great. And then, of course, as I said, each song is made better because Julie Andrews is just wonderful. Her performance is top notch. There's not a single problem with her voice and her performance. The only song she isn't directly involved in is I Am 16 Going on 17. Yes, she gets involved with that later, but the primary
she riffs on it later.
But the primary one, Liesel and Little Brown Shirt and Training. I forget his name.
I love that character, the Little Brown Shirt and Training, because that was a big thing of the era, is co-opting or corrupting youth.
And he is fully corrupted by the end of the movie.
Because he does struggle with it for a couple minutes,
for a
going
second,
that far to use
hot second.
Use the gun.
Well, he wasn't ready to kill.
That's what I mean. He struggled with the killing.
But he was ready to betray them.
He was ready to betray the girl that he was in love with.
Yeah.
That is dogma.
And so let's get to that. So we've got a family in crisis. In comes life and love and beauty again. And then you have the romance angle for him. Is it quick? Yes. It's movie romance. It's hurried along. It happens very quickly.
They get married overnight.
Yeah.
I'm okay with them getting together. Their romance made sense. Their chemistry was good.
They went on honeymoon for a month, though. They were on honeymoon for a month. So when they got back, they were out there for a while.
After that. But there's like, hey, I'm coming back. I broke up with the governor. So you want to get married? Or with the Duchess or the Baron?
Baroness. Well, I mean, it's movie romance. We've had that discussion before. It's acceptable, especially when you have two great actors like Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer just selling it completely.
And it was a thing in history. People got married a lot quicker than they did. Like courtships were shorter than they are today. So I can get over it. I don't love that. Their romance is set up, though. I think their chemistry is really good and played out through the whole movie. It's not like their romance was an overnight thing. Their marriage was an overnight thing, but that is historically justifiable, I think. So, and not a problem.
So, but then those you don't those are the primary plots, but underneath it all, as we said, there's the subtle, serious plot: the rise of Nazi Germany, the rise of the Third Reich taking over. Yes, did it invade Austria? No, Austria bent the knee and was allowed itself to be assimilated into the Third Reich, and it's a creeping menace through the whole movie. When you hear Brown Shirt and Training going, I'm ready to be part of so much bigger. Don't you understand? These great things are happening. And Lisa's just like, I love you.
I had the great misfortune. It's not that bad. I watched Attack of the Clones this week for Geeks and Gamers Locals. And when I was actually watching Sound of Music, I thought, wouldn't have Attack of the Clones been way better if they just copied the romance angle from this film with the two 17-year-olds or 16-year-olds? Because it's a kind of a similar thing where he's getting corrupted. Some of the scenes even make sense. Like, we need a dictator. That sounds like dictatorship. Well, if it works, it works. That movie I see as a very poor man's version of this one. But yeah, I think the prequels would have been a lot better if they used the writing from this film.
Well, listen. George creates great stories, but he's not necessarily the best writer. Like his ideas,
world building is top tier.
Yes, and that's why the OT has better writing than the PT, but that's a discussion we've already had many times. You can go watch our reviews of the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy on the playlist. Go watch them. It's a good time. Everybody enjoyed it. We even had guests. That's a thing that we sometimes do around here. So the subtle rise of all of it, and it's creeping. And then, like you said, suddenly it's like, oh, in any normal romantic comedy type movie, there it is. They've gotten married. Everybody's happy. But no, because this is mid 1930s and the Nazification of everything is coming through. It's rising the control. And Austria has bent the knee. And you had heard Georg von Trapp, Captain von Trapp, throughout the movie, constantly rejecting that. Every time the conversation comes up, he says, I am Austrian. We're Austrian. We are not this. We are not what they stand for. And like we said, he comes home after his honeymoon, and the new, essentially, guy in charge, the Politico that put in charge, put a swastika up on his home. And his first action is to tear it down. And knowing what it means. Because then here comes Brown Shirt in Training, which is a fascinating moment. Because remember, here's like the great setup and payoff and overlaying of the plots. Before, he only took the job of being a courier so he could get to see Liesel whenever he wanted. Now he arrives with a message. He's in full uniform. He's got the armband on, the hat, the straps, pins, everything, ribbons. He is decked out in full Nazi gear. And Liesel's like, "Oh, you're here." He's like, "No, I'm here to give a message. Stand aside, woman. I'm here to give your father an important message from the military." And then as soon as Captain Von Trapp reads it, he says, "Yeah, I'm not going to do this, and we're now in danger. We got to get out of here now." And then the movie takes on, then there's tension. I mean, the third act is pure tension. How do they get out of this? What do they do? And it
doesn't have to resort to some action sequence.
No.
We don't need random action at the end of the film.
No.
It's just the sneaking around. It's just the family stakes that are play. And I love how we didn't need to neuter the villain. That's a trope that I've seen every era of Hollywood, and I always hate it. We can still have intelligent villains. Like this guy that you're talking about, the figurehead put in place by Germany. He's smart enough to know, hey, we gave him this letter that he's got to join the German military. He's going to try to sneak away as soon as possible, so let's go wait for him. And he's still hesitant about the whole, you're a singing group. He still is vastly intelligent and isn't defeated from being a bumbling idiot.
No.
He's an intimidating force. He's the ultimate bureaucrat.
Yep. And it all works. And then there's the other tie-in. The hills and the mountains are still an important motif because it has Maria's representation of what freedom and love and pureness is. At the same time, though, when Maria's having her own crisis in confidence, whether or not where she should go, and she talks to the most superior sings the song of the high mountains. And she's telling Maria with that song, the mountains are always there. You're going to reach for the heavens like that, climb those mountains. But it's also the message. When it's time to retreat, they go to the mountains because they play that song overlapping their retreat. Climb those mountains, reach for your hopes and dreams. And they escape that way too. So the motifs are all cleverly written in to all of this. And you've got just these great moments of performances layered with getting a meaning across. We understand, like you said, these people are they're afraid for their lives. And I love there's a line there during the point where they're creeping away. The youngest one says, "Can I sing about my favorite things?" Maria goes, No. We need to be quiet.
Because in a musical, you have to address when you're suddenly not singing. And so that was a really clever way of doing it.
Yeah. And it's intelligent writing. Like you said, this movie has just intelligent writing in it. And like we always say, there was a period of time when the writers and the directors trusted their audience. And this movie trusts its audience to understand what's going on. Yes, Nazis bad, but it's doing it through showing it. As we said, show don't tell always works. Brown Shirt in Training, when he captures them trying to sneak out of the Abbey, and he pulls the Luger on him, and Captain Von Trapp.
I just want to say the Luger is a great gun, and I'm so mad that it's perpetually associated with that era in German history.
It's a powerful pistol, man.
You can't have that without people assuming you're making a political statement. It's just a cool looking gun. And the Allies knew about it. They picked it up. They'd steal it from any German officers they could.
When I was younger, my stepdad had his farm clutch. He had a Luger, and I've shot a Luger before. Powerful gun. Such a strange
we got over
though.
German cars being sold here, but why can't we get over Lugers being associated with certain evil people from Germany?
Its hammer action is so unique with the sides, and you pull it up like that and the whole thing. It's a very unique gun. And one of the best representations of it is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. during this third act where he's fighting all the Germans on top of the tank, and he gets a Luger away and he shoots it, and it goes through like 7 guys. It goes through 7 guys, and then he just stands there and looks at it. Powerful pistol.
Germans had some great engineers.
Yes, I mean that, and to talk about as an aside, the reason we were so gung ho with Oppenheimer's nuclear program here in the West is because the Germans weren't that far behind. They had jet engines. They had them. I did this research when I was in high school. They had jet engines. The only problem is they were stupid and they didn't put them on a fighter plane. They put them on a different type of plane. So they had already figured out jet engines during World War II.
Oh, yeah.
They just didn't apply them properly.
Yeah, it's a tactical issue with the German military and leadership issues, but the engineering side, they were so far ahead of us. It wasn't an arms race. It was more just an application correctly of arms race.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a reason why at the end of the war, they were using former Nazi people in charge of engineering and mechanics because they are the ones who are going to do it. And to Patton's point, to talk about Patton a little more here, I'm going to use the people that know how to make the water work and the lights work and the rails run. Give me people that you know how to do it. And these people weren't they were part of the party, but they didn't have like what Captain Von Trapp was able to do, escape. I mean, for example, in that movie, Max wasn't going to be able to escape. He was going to have to comply because at one point, remember when the Politico bureaucrat comes up for the first thing, it's like, big smile. And Max doesn't do it at first, but then when he leaves, he goes, big smile. And Max just goes, yeah, big smile. Big smile. And sometimes it was survival. And that's the nuance of history, knowing that people put on the pin. Look at Schindler's List. He put on the pin, but he didn't believe it. And there were people out there who didn't believe in what the Nazis were doing. And even in the military, look at that. I'm sure some people will watch it. Tom Cruise's Valkyrie, Operation Valkyrie. Mm-hmm. They were military men. And the catchphrase of that movie is, we wanted history to know we weren't all like this. That some of us were trying to stop it from within and not do what they were doing. And that's just that's something, like you said, that unfortunately objectivity doesn't weigh heavily on some people, and pure emotion. Of course, propaganda will warp things, and we're not praising Nazis and morons out there. We're talking about people who could not escape being part of it. Normal, everyday people, normies, for lack of a better term, who got caught up in it.
Just look how hard the Von Trapp family had to fight to escape. Mm-hmm. One false move, and Captain Von Trapp would be just like the other people that you're talking about. He got very lucky. Their family got incredibly lucky. It wasn't some great strategy. They didn't plan ahead well. They got lucky.
Seat of their pants. Seat of their pants. It's like, okay, we have this cover of the music festival, which the family was signed up to do. And
good
suddenly,
timing.
And then Max says, yeah, I'm part of it too. And the movie had set it up because he had sung Edelweiss at the party for people. He had done the performance. So it was set up that he is willing to sing in public. So it's not like just suddenly, oh, he's going to do it, and it doesn't make sense. No, it makes sense. The movie and the story set it up.
Do like, though, that she still doesn't know the words to the songs that he didn't sing. That first song that they sang as a group, he's just kind of mouthed like, apples. Like, he's figuring out as he goes. So they still had that. He wasn't just magically good at it.
Yeah, but that's also good performance and great. And that's the director saying, okay, Chris, pretend, just try and lip sync it best you can, because the character won't know it. Can't know it.
I would have loved a behind the scenes story. I mean, they're actors, so they don't need this, but like how he wasn't taught the song, they specifically wouldn't let him find out the song, and then recorded him figuring it out and says, just figure it out. Try to blend in.
Well, see,
that would have been funny.
One of the things, and this is where I take there's not much for me to take off points in this movie, but one of the things is that Christopher Plummer, magnificent actor, but he can't sing. He cannot sing. But you know what it is? They made him sing, but he didn't try to sing. He kind of just kept it at a certain range, didn't try to go beyond it, didn't try to do it, and just kind of powered through.
I think it works for his character though, because he's not a natural talent necessarily. He doesn't sing a whole lot. Him being unfamiliar with singing and being rusty at it at best, I think it works for his character. A lack of talent played into his character, in my opinion. That's why you don't see him just randomly go off in solos. Like the character wouldn't do that. So I actually think that helps the movie. His performance.
I can see what you're saying. But from a performance perspective, I have to I have to take slight points off because but the fact that here's one of the things that matters in movie most: gravitas. You and I have said this all the time about other movies, about TV shows a lot too. And we talk about TV shows. Christopher Plummer brings gravitas. When Captain Von Trapp is there, and he's for 2/3 of the movie, he is just a serious, no fun person, and his presence changes the scene, blowing the whistle, doing all this, chewing people out for this and that. It changed him because he's playing the part and you feel it and the atmosphere works. And then he has enough talent as an actor to soften it when he falls in love, when he has that moment, when he comes home and he sees them all singing in the small room and the family hug, when he realizes, oh, I've been neglecting my children who just want my attention. Man, that just gets you. And you could feel the shift. That's the sign of a great actor. He can flip on a dime. Okay, I'm going from serious gravitas to emotional gravitas, where suddenly it works. It's all working. We're all happy. So that is what great casting means. And that's why Christopher Plummer and Julie Andrews were two of the best you could put in these roles. Fantastic. Works beautifully. That's one of the reasons the movie works so well. Performances.
I do want to add something here. So yes, my only really criticism of this film also ties into his character, Captain Von Trapp, and it's along the same lines of what you're talking about here, but in a negative sense. I think his performance is stellar. I really get the intimidating father at the beginning and the loving, present man that we see at the end. My problem is the transition between the two. Both performances are fantastic. The writing's there for the most part. It's just, it feels too much like on a dime. I would have liked a little bit more gradual change, because this behavior would be muscle memory at this point for him. So just gradually getting more emotional, connecting with the kids. It feels like as soon as the sequence where the Baroness shows up at the villa with him or whatever, and he sees his kids singing, and there's the performance with the marionette dolls. After that, he's just nice man. There's not any of like reaching for the like if he just a couple times when he saw the kids singing, naturally like reach for his whistle. It's like, wait, no, I'm not holding that anymore. Just little things like that to say his muscle memory's still there. He's consciously choosing not to be that man anymore because he knows how damaging it is to his children. It's almost as if it was an instantaneous change. I prefer character arcs where they recognize their flaws and they have to work on their flaws. He just recognized his flaw and it was gone. It evaporated immediately. That would have added a lot of depth to his character, I think, and helped justify the romance angle to a larger degree. I do think that the chemistry between him and Julie Andrews is great, and by the time they get together, when the Baroness leaves, their relationship is solid enough that we can buy them as a couple, but it would have been nice to have him trying to fight this behavior with Julie's help. Like he does something and she's like, hey, that's the man you used to be. That's what you're trying to avoid. And she's like, you're absolutely correct. And just seeing that transition.
I can see what you're saying. And it does tie into one of my other small criticisms. That little section, the end of the second act, is the weakest part of the movie, where Maria's in crisis and she's not there. And when Julie Andrews is not on screen, the movie suffers when she's not on screen, because she's the force driving everything to make this movie glorious, in my opinion. And in that moment, that would have been the area to do what you're talking about. The problem is the movie shifts at that point to the Baroness, and she gets her little bit of the story here, which I think is an excellent point that maybe somebody doesn't talk about a lot about here. The fact that the Baroness, while a romantic rival with Maria, they don't turn her into an uber bitch.
No, she does try to sabotage a little bit.
It's a natural sabotage. It's not I'm being cruel. It's I'm defending territory that I thought I already owned by just saying yeah, we're gonna get married now. There won't be any need for it, which is kind of a natural thing, though, right? If
Yeah,
we're getting,
no,
yeah,
the mother is the governess exists to fill in the needs of the mother
Yeah.
would fulfill.
Yeah.
So yeah, with a mother, you wouldn't need that anymore. But she's so out of her depth with the kids. You see
And
that
that-
in just
and
that
then
weird
that's-
ball game.
That's where that's why, even though it's the weakest part of the movie, it's still a great little thing. It's showing the Baroness. She's seemingly won in terms of, I'm going to be the mom. We don't need you anymore. And it's a nice way. It's not evil. And then it shows that she is not connecting with the children, and the children want her. They want Maria. And even Captain Von Trapp realizing that there's something missing now suddenly. That made everything work. And then when Maria decides to come back after conquering her crisis moment, then the Baroness does the wonderful thing of realizing, yeah, it's not working. And when Georg rejects her, she just leaves. She bows out gracefully. And that, to me, that's a good nuanced character of, you don't have to make another romantic rival a complete and uber bitch if it's two females.
There are other options.
Yeah.
I agree with you that her character has a lot more subtlety than necessarily needed. A lot of other writers would have made her generic Disney villain type thing, evil queen type character.
Children,
I don't know.
Go away.
Exactly. I don't know how you feel about this, but I think the film might have been a little bit better if she weren't included in the film, because that would give that screen time for the transition and I think the conflict with Julie Andrews being a nun and being like, I don't want to fall in love with the man. I have taken these vows. I am a nun. That's
she hasn't
enough
taken
of
the
a
vows yet. She hadn't taken the vows yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think that's enough of an internal conflict for her to justify her arc without the needing of he's engaged to another man. And I think it makes the captain look a little, I don't know what the right word is. Ungrateful.
It's a little dickish to have led the Baroness along that long.
Well, it's more than that as well, because when he's having that one of the first scenes with the Baroness, when they're at the villa overlooking the lake, he says, "You're what's given my life meaning for so long." So she was already pulling him out of the hole that his dead wife had created. And so that takes away from what Julie Andrews was doing a little bit. And then he's like, "Oh, you pulled me out a little bit of the way. She pulled me out of the rest of the way. Sorry, bye." Like, it makes him feel callous. So I think it would have been better to have her out of the film and Julie Andrews pulling him out entirely. That way there's not this split focus and this ingratitude coming from his character as well. So there are individual good things with the Baroness. I just think we would gain more from her exclusion. That way we could focus more on the dad, the relationship with the kids, the captain, the relationship with Maria, and we have more time for those dynamics. We also have more time to develop the agent friend or whatever who wants to make him into the Von Trapp family. Max, he doesn't have a whole lot to do in the film. I just don't know that Baroness brings enough to the table to outweigh some of the other benefits that would have had from her exclusion.
I was saying, I still feel as though I feel as though her addition as the momentary fiance was a necessary plot point to shift Maria into her crisis, more than just conflicting beliefs, conflicting religious beliefs, or where she wanted to take herself in religion. So I see what you're saying, and I don't completely disagree, but I feel like the movie would have had to work a little harder to get Maria to crisis mode, where she leaves and goes away. But that the Baroness's nudge sends her and puts her in that crisis, because she has to have the crisis in order to go back to the monastery or the abbey, to set up the later stuff in the film and all that kind of stuff. So I see what you're saying. I don't disagree. And it all combines into that small section of the movie, that 20 or so minutes, where it is lagging ever so slightly, because the main relationships are not in play. No Maria children, no Maria Captain Von Trapp, the captain is sort of with the children, yet still adjusting. So I see what you're saying. I don't disagree.
Yeah, it would clean that up, and then you get more time for the transition, because I do think the transition between the second and third act is so abrupt that's why, as a kid, I thought it felt like a different movie. The transition is very, very abrupt. So just more time to make that transition would have been good.
Overall, let's just talk briefly about the kids. The kids are all fine for their performances. They're asked to do just enough. They're not asked to do too much. Liesel gets the most because she's the only one that has a real plot arc out of all the kids, because the rest of them are too young to have plot arcs. She's just old enough to have a burgeoning romance plot arc, which as we discussed, is heartbreaking at the end because you see what ideological corruption can do to the weak-minded. Somebody, because let's talking once again about the Nazi rise to power. One of the things that appealed to so many young Germans, and in this case also young Austrians at the time, was the fallout of World War I and the economic disaster that the Allies then rained down upon the previous Axis, all that stuff, and it destroyed everybody's livelihood so much that when Hitler came in and promised super nationalistic return to great and power, I'm going to give you purpose, young man, for your country. Guys like that who had been growing up, because he's 16, that means he grew up over the past decade of crushing economic times, probably, suddenly being told, oh, now that you're getting old enough, I'm going to give you purpose in the Reich. Don't you want that? And of course, it feeds into his masculine imagery of what he needs to be as a man, and it overrides because remember, he's only 17 years old, 17 going on 18. So he's not fully developed.
Predatory behavior.
Yeah.
It's ingenious psychology, but that's what it is. It's trying to take advantage of the situation that people were in post.
And the movie portrays it so perfectly yet subtly. In that one moment, in that little thing, a boy who was madly in love with a girl and took on the role of being a courier just so you could see the girl, suddenly when the ideological power is now in hold, it overrode his system. And he cares more about that than what he was. In the blink of an eye, he was so easily corruptible, so easily manipulated, that suddenly that mattered more to him than love. As opposed to the captain who threw away everything for the love of a woman and the love and protecting of his family. As he said, it's a great line the captain says, when he's convincing the bureaucrat, the Nazi bureaucrat, that I am going to sing with this, it says the Von Trapp family, and I'm the head of the family. This is a man who understood his role. I'm the head of my family. I have to protect my wife, and I have to protect my children. And that means not bending the knee. That means getting away, because he understood it was going to destroy them all. And that's bravery. And he even says to the kid, come with us. We'll take you with us. You love my daughter. Come. He doesn't say that, but he understands.
Yeah.
Come with us. Because Liesel had been right in front of him saying, basically, don't do this. Don't do this. So he understood. He's not a dumb man. Again, you don't need to say these things out. He understood it. Come with us. This isn't you. You're not like, he says, this isn't you. You're not like them. Don't do this.
I think he takes it one step too far, though. I do believe that there was a version of that scene where he could have convinced, I mean, from a character standpoint, not a writing standpoint. Like, the writing standpoint is fucking great. Excuse me. But I do believe there was a way that the captain could have convinced him to come with him. It was just that last line. The kid was looking terrified. He handed over the gun. He looks confused. And then he says, you will never be like them. And that triggers the response to Colin. That was the mistake. If he hadn't said that or had said something else, I think he could have convinced the kid to come with him. It's that small, and this might be headcanon on my part, but I think it's justifiable enough from a historical standpoint that the kid could be an orphan from World War I. World War I is one of the bloodiest wars in human history.
Generations lost.
He could be an orphan, or at least fatherless. So this is the first time that he felt like he fit in, the first time he had a family.
That's my point. Yep.
Yeah, that's why he made that transition. That's headcanon on my part, but seeing that as a paternal character for him, the Third Reich, and then this other man is trying to be a father figure for him in that scene, but he bashes the one place that he felt loved, felt like he fit in, and that was the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's written so
analysis. Well. That's a really great analysis. That one line probably made him go the way he did and say, they're here, and that's heartbreaking.
That changed the course of that kid's life. Because if he had left with them, he might not die in the war, or
that kid probably died on the front lines.
Probably. And so I think it's a very well written scene to see that. And I see that as tragedy because I love the character of that kid. He is complicated, he is nuanced, and it's a tragedy what happens to him. And he was so close to redemption.
But then he doesn't. But then they escape because just what I love about Captain Von Trapp in that moment is I'm putting myself between a gun and my family. And even though my family said, don't do this, he's like, no, I'm going to do this. That's a gun. I am the man. I am the father. I am the husband. I'm going to take a bullet for you if I need to make sure you get away.
Well, and Maria responds correctly as well. As soon as she's told it's safe to go, she doesn't question. She takes the kids and she starts sneaking away. She doesn't be, I'm not leaving you. Let's put the kids in danger because I love you so much. That I hate that trope in modern stuff. Sometimes you have to put aside the love of your spouse for the protection of your children. That's what good people do. And she didn't even hesitate. And I love that.
Yeah. And they escape. And what I love in that is the children are, we're so tired. Could we really do this? And basically the captain says, we have to do this and I will carry you. And the final scene is, as with the Higher Mountain song, they're carrying the children, the youngest that need to be carried. They're carrying them as they have to trek with no food, no water, nothing. Because this was, like we said earlier, this was a last minute plan. They had a car, which probably had some provisions in it. They were going to go, but then they had to run, literally.
The soldiers checked their car. So I imagine that they thought we might be stopped at the border or at the end of the city. We were going to get stopped at some point. So we can't look like we're going on a vacation. We can't look like we're fleeing home. So I don't think they had a whole lot of luggage.
That's a good point. That's a good point. All right. I take that back. That's a good point. But they would have just been a day trip across the border. So you're right. They wouldn't have needed that. So now history says they made it across the mountains. They got to Switzerland. They were fine. But they then had to go through the wilderness for a few days to get across the border. And
that's dedication to morality. Like his integrity was more important to him than braving the frontier. That's a good man.
Yeah. And they're carrying the youngest ones that were tired. They're carrying the kids. And then that's the end of the movie. And it's great. You know, at the time, we don't need the history lesson. Just know that they get away, they survive, and then here comes war. And that's we'll talk honestly. My next movie is a World War II movie. I'm doing a World War II movie for our next movie. I think you'll like that. I'll tell you what it is when we're done here. I think you're gonna like it. I don't know if you've seen it before. So anyway, so that's it. I think we're done here. You have anything else you want to say on this?
No, I think we'll get it in the rating section. But yeah, it's such a beautiful film. This is art, and I don't know of any movie that's come out in decades that even compares to the artistry that this one has.
That's why this is art, and it's not only art of the creators, Rodgers and Hammerstein, but art of the performances. And those are my final thoughts. I call this movie art primarily because of Julie Andrews, but it's also what she has to work with. She's working with timeless songs. We talked about at the beginning of the stream, songs that exist in the zeitgeist, the pop culture zeitgeist, that carry weight today. You just know it. You just know it. And you have a good time every time, and you'll whistle these songs. And then just the performances. Christopher Plummer, outstanding actor. I can't wait to honestly, one of my favorite Christopher Plummer moments is when he's in Star Trek 6.
Really?
Oh, when he's General Kang. Yes. General Kang, cry havoc, and let's the dogs of war. You know, you'll enjoy Shakespeare more when you read in the original Klingon. He's like, yes, yes. So we'll enjoy that. I will enjoy that when we do Star Trek 6 at one point. But Christopher Plummer, fantastic. The kids are serviceable. Everybody's fine. It's a complete story. I love it that it's based on history. And I will say this unashamedly. I am a Julie Andrews stan. She is just perfection when it comes to performance. I own a lot of her movies between my collection and my mom's collection. So it's glorious. I love it. All right. And I give it, because it's my week, I'll go first. I give it a 9.5 out of 10. A near perfect movie. All right, Ted. Before we go to you, though, on your side,
we have a $20 super chat from Patriotic Gestrel. Thank you so much, man. Yes, thanks. This movie's great, so I appreciate you supporting us and hope you got a good discussion out of this and enjoyed this stream. Thank you so much for supporting. But rating this film, I can't disagree with you on any of those points that you just made. Julie Andrews is an icon, and I wish we had actresses like her today. One of the few people alive who can pull off a short haircut like that in this film.
That is an outstanding. I don't like the pixie cut, but Julie Andrews pulls it off every time in every movie she does it in, and she does it a lot.
She does.
She's always got the short pixie haircut going on, the short cut, and she pulls it off because she's Julie and she's beautiful.
Yeah, not everyone can, but yeah, this film is absolute art. This is a film that everyone needs to see in their life. There's a list of only so many films that is absolute required watching to be a human being, and I put that on that list. I think it is essential to understanding the history of film and understanding what film can be. And my criticisms are so small. Just the transition of the captain's character. That's my main criticism. And I think the Baroness's involvement ties into that. His before and after the transition, great character, great writing and performance and everything. So the transition's a minor thing overall. So I actually have to agree with you completely and give this a 9.5 out of 10.
That's a rarity.
It's very rare to get a 9 from me.
To get a 9 I did, and also both of us rating it so high at the same time. All right.
I mean, what's wrong with this movie? How could someone watch this movie and say it's bad, Dermy?
Dermy, because Dermy's a retard. Anyway, Jed, what do you got for next week?
All right, for next week, it felt about time. We recently watched a film 2 months ago now that the sequel is always on the table. So it's time to watch the sequel to Top Gun and watch Top Gun Maverick. I know it's only a couple of years old, but we're getting to summer blockbuster season, and I wanted to celebrate summer blockbuster season with a great film, one of the greatest films that we've had in the last few years. I think it's just a great film, so I think we'll enjoy it. Have you seen it? I don't think you have.
No, I haven't actually. I never got around to it because it's not that I didn't want to. It's just I'm so hesitant to watch new things. And even though I know it's been widely accepted, I just never got around to it. So you guys will get my first take on this, and we'll have the discussion that I've heard people say, is it better than the original?
I have complicated thoughts on that as well. I'm definitely going to watch Top Gun again right before watching Maverick because they tie together so well, I think. But yeah, modern art, the best that modern art has to deal. And that is kind of sad to say with Top Gun Maverick, but Top Gun Maverick next week.
Another Tom Cruise movie for us.
I know, it's the year of Cruise.
Well, listen, there's a lot of good Tom Cruise movies. That's the problem, and I happen to like quite a few of them. So
A Few Good Men, I think, is his best one, though.
Honestly,
and we can't redo it.
I think he is. When we look at actors, he is the actor we've done the most of on this show. I think maybe Harrison Ford might be a close second.
We do need to do Air Force One at some point.
I have so many mixed feelings about that movie.
Really?
Yeah, I have a lot of mixed feelings. Anyway, let's get off our show and get on with our day. So thank you, everybody, for watching us. If you're watching on my channel, The Renaissance Nerd, you will be shuttled over to Co-op Gaming Night with the boys. Tonight, we're playing Space Marine 2. I am basically only got through the tutorial, so we're going to kill Tyranids and Chaos. Zinch Chaos. So join me for that. Me and Alpha, and it's either Cash or Sleazy. I don't know who our third is right now. It's up to Alpha. Alf's running the show. I'm just along to kill things. Anyway, so that's at 8:30. Either way, guys, thank you all for watching us. We appreciate your support. Best thing you guys could do is hit that like button, subscribe to the channels, and we'll see you guys next week. Until then, everybody, take it easy.